Healthcare is too expensive. Employers are offsetting costs onto their employees. Who will make health benefits affordable for hard-working Americans and their families?
You will! This is the Empowering Plans Podcast, a show dedicated to helping you once again emphasize the benefits in your benefit plan. Now prepare to learn,
Plan,
save,
and protect with the FIA Group.
Are we live? Are we live? No, I'm just kidding. We're recording. So this is a special edition of the FIA Group's Empowering Plans podcast. And when I say it's a special edition, what I mean to say is that my usual partner in crime, Corey Krieger, has got better things to do than talk shop with me. But I couldn't possibly let yet another week go by without preparing a podcast for our loyal listeners. And by loyal listeners, I mean my dad. Hi, Dad. Joking aside, I have been on the road a lot lately, and I'm not alone. I know others at the FIA Group, including myself and others in the industry, we're traveling 1, 2, 3 times a month, sometimes more, to conferences, to client events. We're talking to everyone from third-party administrators, stop-loss carriers, insurance carriers, all the way through group benefit plan sponsors, employers, employees, HR professionals, broker advisors, third-party administrators, you name it. And while we're definitely discussing all sorts of different topics and issues, it covers the entire spectrum, I have noticed that there are a couple terms or catchphrases that keep coming up. These are sort of the hot topics that I'm being asked to talk about. And so what I was hoping to do with today's podcast was address a couple of those and share my thoughts to sort of set the scene, to create a foundation and give you a sense of where we're coming from and what to expect. And the first sort of hot topic or term that's being brought up is transparency. Transparency has been a catchphrase in our industry, health care, health insurance, and frankly, society at large for a long time. And people will throw that term out there, transparency, as if it's a cure-all, that with transparency, everything is fixed. And let me start by saying that generally speaking, I think transparency is great. I think that if you have nothing to hide and you show all your cards and you share everything, that ultimately good things will come out of it. The problem is that we're not all talking about the same thing, and how people use transparency and what is being shared in the first place and how it's digested and what the sort of the outcome of that transparency will be differs depending on what we're talking about and what we're sharing. So let me explain what I mean. When people talk about transparency in healthcare, they're generally talking about what things cost. And we know what things cost when we look at two things, right? Number one is the price. What's being charged, right? And then number two is if there's a discount, right? Is it in network? Is it out of network? Is there a discount, right? Have we negotiated and do we have a contract that says, well, here's what I charge, but you only need to pay a portion of that. And the patient, they won't be balance billed for the difference. Okay. So let's say we have transparency when it comes to the discount. Well, traditionally, that tends to be restricted, right? Parties will say that the discounts are negotiated for by some other entity, that it's proprietary, that network secret sauce, that's not available to the end payer, the plan sponsor, their representatives. Well, we're starting to see now, by law, there are prohibitions against gag clauses and things that might hide that from you. So let's say we have a little bit more insight or eyes on what the discounts are. Okay. A discount is worthless if you don't know what it's being applied to in the first place, right? If I tell you you've got a 50% discount and your neighbor's got a 90% discount, you're naturally going to think, why has my neighbor got a better deal? But if you're taking 50% off of 100,000 and your neighbor's getting 90% off $1 million, right? That 50% is starting to look a lot better. So what's being charged is that next sort of level of transparency that people care about. And so we're getting insight, thanks to law, thanks to contract, thanks to transparency movements, into what things cost the charge master, the rates that are being charged by a provider, for instance. And we think to ourselves, well, let's just share that information with the plan members, and they're going to go and they're going to save money for us. They're going to save money for the plan. Not so fast. There is a psychological phenomenon called the price quality heuristic, where if a person lacks other information, they naturally assume that if something costs more, it's better. You get what you pay for. That's the mindset. And so the problem is you could have a plan participant, someone who is a member of a self-funded plan, who is scheduled to have a procedure done at hospital number 1. And because of price transparency, they go and they see that hospital number 1 charges $10,000 for that procedure. Hospital number 2, on the other side of town, charges $20,000, twice as much. Well, that individual may look at that and think, why am I going to the dollar store of providers when I could be going to the quality provider, the one that charges twice as much? Because they're charging Lamborghini prices, they're charging Bentley and Rolls-Royce prices, and here I am going to the Toyota or Nissan hospital. I deserve the best. That's what insurance is for. I've been paying my premiums for months, for years. Now it's my turn to get something back. I'm going to go to the luxury resort. I'm going to go to the Ritz-Carlton hospital, not the Holiday Inn hospital. Little do they know that in all businesses, all industries, you don't always get what you pay for. And price is not always an indicator of quality. And that's particularly true in healthcare. We know this. In fact, sometimes the providers that charge the most are the worst. They have to charge more because they got to pay their malpractice attorneys, right? So, price transparency in and of itself is not enough. Well, then we say, let's start increasing deductibles. Let's increase copays and coinsurance. By making sure the patient has skin in the game, now they're going to care. When they don't say, well, insurance is paying for it, so why do I care? Well, now they're paying for it. That'll teach them, right? Slow down. In some instances, when we shift more responsibility onto the patient, they will actually avoid seeking care because they don't want to pay that out of pocket. And what ends up happening is an illness or injury ends up being exacerbated due to the passing of time without treatment until it gets to the point that they have to seek treatment. They still pay the same out of pocket, but now the plan is worse off because the bill is that much bigger. Issue number 1. Issue number 2, sometimes patients will rush to seek treatment to just get the deductible out of the way, knowing that as soon as they get that spent, everything else is on the plan. And so they end up seeking unnecessary treatment because their liability is capped. 2. 3, they'll still go to the more expensive provider, regardless of whether they have their out-of-pocket, because frankly, like I said, their liability is capped. They know what their deductible is. They're going to have to spend it either way, so I might as well get the better. What's important is explaining to these patients not only what things cost, but the quality metric. You know, sometimes when I'm talking about this at an event, I'll put slides up on the screen, and I've got a bunch of televisions, right, off of a website. And all it does is list the prices next to them. You know, and sometimes I'll even add a discount to the more expensive one, right? And I'll ask the audience, looking at this screen, which is the best television? And naturally, they point at the most expensive one and they say, well, that one must be the best. But then the next slide, I bring up user reviews. And the most expensive TV has the lowest review. Let's say the mid one has a 5-star review, and then the next one has a low review. All of a sudden, now the middle TV is the best one, right? User reviews, quality metrics, the number of times that there's post-treatment infections, complications, right? Malpractice lawsuits, exacerbated injuries, hospital-acquired conditions, you name it. There's so many different metrics you can use to measure quality. People want to know, regardless of price, where am I going to get the best outcome? Okay, that's number 1, quality. But I want to warn you, patients need more than transparency. They need to understand what it is that they're reading in the first place. Let me explain. Where do we see patient skin in the game, quality transparency, and price transparency, and it still fails? Go to your pharmacy. You walk into that pharmacy and say you've got some pain or a headache, and you go to the shelf, the first aid, right, pain relief section. And you go to the shelves and you're looking for acetaminophen or ibuprofen. And right there, the Tylenol and the store brand. The Advil and the store brand. And what does the store brand box say? It says the same active ingredient, the same medication as the Tylenol, the same medication as the Advil. Quality transparency. You know exactly what you're getting. The prices are right there. Price transparency. Store brand costs less. So I've got quality transparency and price transparency. And who's paying for those drugs? I don't know about you. My health plan doesn't pay for my Advil, doesn't pay for my ibuprofen. I pay for it out of my own pocket. Skin in the game. And yet, how many people still purchase the brand drug instead of the store brand? And if asked to explain why, it must be better. Transparency on its own is not enough if the audience doesn't know how to interpret and understand it, which is why there's an onus on the plan sponsor, the plan administrator, their partners, whether you're a broker advisor, third-party administrator, to present to the entire body, hey, you're in a self-funded plan. Every time somebody tells you that's what insurance is for, insurance will pay for it. No, you're paying for it. Every dollar our plan pays coming out of all of our communal pockets. So what can we do to keep those rates from increasing? And then give them strategies. When you look at price, when you look at quality, here's what it means. Here's what you can do to actually reduce the cost of your care and keep the cost of our plan down. Give them strategies. Build in incentives. If you do this instead of that, I'll buy you lunch, whatever. But understand the limitations imposed by law. That's transparency. There's a lot there, but it's pretty commonsensical. The other word I want to cover, the other word of the day, very briefly, is fiduciary. Oh, everybody loves the word fiduciary. It sounds almost Latin, but not quite. Fiduciary. Oh. I hear radio advertisements, television advertisements, where people will literally say, you can trust us, we're a fiduciary. You're going to make money with us because we're a fiduciary. They could be saying, you can trust us, we're a Jabberwocky. Oh, you'll make money with us, we're a lantern. It's just a word. What does it mean? Most people don't even know. Oh, but I'll take your word for it. You're a fiduciary. You can't lie to me, I think. Fiduciary, ultimately, it just means that there is a legally imposed obligation to act with prudence, to put the client's interests ahead of your own. So basically, when you say you're a fiduciary, it means I'm not going to be a jerk. I'm not going to steal your money. If I'm a customer and I walk in, and instead of using the word fiduciary, we actually define what it is, I would say, well, who isn't? Because I don't want to work with them. Are you kidding me? Nobody, whether you're a fiduciary or not, or think you are or aren't, would come out and specifically say, here are the things a fiduciary needs to do. I don't do those things. You'll never get another client. Being a fiduciary is not the be-all, end-all. Protecting the client is the be-all, end-all. Being a fiduciary establishes what you will do. Protecting the client, indemnifying the client, that is the shield. What do I mean by that? Let's say there is a plan process or something that the plan needs to do for which a fiduciary must be appointed. Okay? Pick an example out of the air. Drafting a plan document. A plan administrator is obligated to ensure that a legal plan document, summary plan description, that it's drafted, that it's compliant with law, that it clearly states what's covered and what isn't covered, It explains the rules of the plan, and it's given to every prospective or current plan member. Okay? There's an obligation to do that. Let's say you're a plan administrator and you want these plan documents to be created. You have this fiduciary duty. Now, let's say you say, I don't know how to draft the plan. I don't know how to make sure it's compliant. I want somebody to come and do it for me, and I want them to have the same fiduciary duty, the same level of responsibility as I have. If somebody comes in and says, I'm willing to do your plan documents for you, and I will act as a fiduciary, that doesn't shift the burden from you. Just because there's someone else that's a fiduciary doesn't mean you're no longer a fiduciary. I like to joke that being a fiduciary is like having COVID. Just because I give it to you doesn't mean mine goes away, right? Now we're just both sick. So you're both fiduciaries. Great. That means if something goes wrong, one of you could be sued, the other could be sued, you could both be sued. More's the merrier, right? Misery loves company. Where the real value comes in is if that service provider says, not only am I applying the same level of responsibility, that fiduciary level of responsibility that you must impose as well, and therefore we're both fiduciaries. But if you end up suffering some sort of claim against you, damages arising from an accused breach of fiduciary duty that was caused by something I did, I'll indemnify you. I'll protect you. That's the secret sauce. Is not only am I going to act as a fiduciary, but I'm also going to protect you against your own duty as well. That combination. So whether we're talking in transparency, price, and quality, or we're talking in fiduciary, both the duty and the indemnification, it requires these combinations of concepts to truly eke out that value from these terms and words and concepts and ideas that are popping up in the industry. There are other concepts and ideas like that as well, but we don't have time to discuss it today. So whether you're a fiduciary, you're looking for transparency, or anything else in the industry, please feel free to give us a call. We're always happy to talk shop, even if Corey's too busy to do so. On behalf of myself, the FIA Group, thank you so much for joining us today. Be well.